The latest title from UK studio Pystec Games is now with us, and Titan Isles on Meta Quest headsets is a damn good time. It's a game that delivers platform elements and shooting and co-op multiplayer, and every single piece of this game works together to create something that's truly impressive. So Titan Isles casts you as a wanderer, alone-ish, in a future world. The planet of Tosca, in which you inhabit, has been invaded by these giant Titan robots. But you were put into cryosleep, so you missed the war. And you wake up in the ruins of what was your planet and need to basically uncover what actually happened while you were in cryosleep. Honestly, the story is more or less here nor there. It is just set dressing for the experience that you have. And that experience is absolutely fantastic from start to finish. The game probably looks pretty strange in the screenshots and video that you've seen. Lots of floating lands and so on. And it is. It's a really strange presentation. But it works. It works surprisingly well. If you've played any of Pystec Games' previous games, specifically the Windland games, you'll probably know a bit about how things are going to get laid out here. But for those of you who haven't, essentially, you are playing as a character with a special suit on that has loads of momentum options, depending on which you choose from. There are 4 to choose from, and some have jet propulsion, some have many multi-jumps, but all of them are very, very fast. And you will go hopping between these different floating lands along a pathway from start to finish, fighting enemies along the way. It sounds simple, but there's much more to it than that. Every level has multiple routes that you can select from in the hub in order to engage with them, meaning that basically every level is essentially 5 or 6 levels in itself. Every map has 5 or 6 levels. But more than that, as you're progressing, you don't necessarily have to follow the prescribed path. You can cut corners or even find hidden routes that lead you through along the same A to B that you're meant to be going, but taking a completely different route to what you had done the previous time. It's super impressive in the level design, despite it looking a bit weird. And the momentum options that you have are second to none. I honestly have never played a VR experience that moves you so fast and so fluidly, and yet not at all did I feel any kind of simulation sickness. To begin with, the game has a lot for you to take in. There's a great deal of verticality, and as I say, the momentum is pretty fast. So you'll be doing, basically learning the ropes of how to maneuver through the world, but at the same time, you have to take out enemies. You have to learn the combat abilities of whichever suit you've chosen, in addition to the movement abilities. So it can be quite taxing when you first start. Fortunately, the first level, of which most of the footage that we've got in this video is taken from, because, we don't want any spoilers, but that first level is designed very well, regardless of which suit you choose, to teach you the basics of both movement, momentum, and the combat. The combat, in my opinion, there are some suits that are significantly more fun than others. But it does do what you expect it to do. It is a shooting game. But the movement is the element which the game really hits hard with, that momentum. And so after you've done a few levels, it's not going to be a simple case of standing or strafing and shooting like you might normally. You will adapt to taking your combat up into the air, to launching yourself high into the sky above an enemy and aiming and shooting while you're free-falling back to land. It's a different kind of experience to any other shooting game that you have played in VR. Once that training is done and you've decided, hey, you know what, I want to team up with some friends, I really found that the experience kind of reminded me of Lost Planet 2. Not in the way the game is delivered. Obviously, that is an old Xbox 360 PS3 PC game played in third person, but in the way that the co-op elements work, the fact that enemies will often be balanced to be played with more than one player, and so really taking a co-op friend into the world is the way to play Titan Isles. That's not to say it's not enjoyable in single player, because it truly is. But there are times when you will feel that having even just a second person, let alone 4 of you, going into this world together would really change the tempo of the game and the enjoyment of the experience. So realistically, if you're looking for a super impressive shooting I don't know, jumping game. For a single player, Titan Isles is a good bet. If you've got even just one friend that wants to play this with you, you're guaranteed to have a good time. As I've mentioned a couple of times, there are 4 suits to choose from, and each of them have both a different momentum ability and a different shooting ability. I actually really prefer the slower guys with the big guns, but you'll probably find your own preference. And each of these suits can be customized in terms of cosmetics to quite an extensive degree, but also, upon completing each level, you'll earn rewards that can then be spent on upgrades. It's kind of a roguelike system, but very, very basic, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. It still remains enjoyable as you complete a run, come back to the hub world, realise that you've got a couple of points to spend, and you go, I'm going to try something new, get a different upgrade for a new suit, and go back in and try it all over again. And each time you try a new suit, or a new upgrade to a lesser extent, it does feel like you're learning again. There is more to learn. For example, there is a suit that allows you to mid-air jump several times, and you can buy an upgrade to extend the amount of times that you can jump in mid-air. And it's one of the first upgrades you can get. So when you return to level, previously maybe you had 4 jumps that you could do before your energy meter was depleted, and now you can do 6. And the jumps are pretty long. So that means you can traverse very, very far with a single upgrade. And this leads to the fact that speedrunning is undoubtedly a joy in this game. It's a real shame that some areas of the levels are shut off, a door will not open until you've defeated all the enemies, because personally, when I was using a suit that had a lot of forward momentum, I found it much more fun just to sprint, just to launch myself into the air and navigate around as quickly as I could from point A to point B, ignoring the path that had been set out for me and trying to take shortcuts, trying to leap across chasms to get to the exit as quickly as I could. And I'm sure there are many speedrunners that will have a field day with this game. While the visual design is a bit abstract with all the random islands and holes and deep chasms that you can fall into, the game does look really impressive. The draw distance in particular is staggering. The environments are pretty low on detail and the enemies are very basic looking. So that affords the developers to put more of the power into drawing more of this world. So it's reasonable to assess how this draw distance has been created. But nonetheless, it is a real treat to be able to stand on a platform and look miles into the distance and go, that's where I need to be. What is my quickest, shortest route to it? Now, we were playing the final version of the game prior to launch, and we did encounter a few very basic issues. These will probably be fixed by the time you watch this video, so don't worry too much about it. But they're simple things like the scoreboard's not working. When you finish a run with your co-op buddies, you obviously get some stats about how you have performed, how many kills you've made, and so on. But when we were playing, it simply had zeros for everything. So hopefully this issue will be fixed. Thankfully, we did not encounter any kind of technical issues such as frame rate drops or anything like that, because obviously with a game that's based about speed, that would severely hamper your experience. And talking about that speed, in addition to the main mode, there is also a racing game mode. And now this is a series of maps that don't have any enemies, and they're just challenging you to get from A to B in as quick a time as possible. They have a set amount of checkpoints, and as you hit each one of them, the score, or the time that you have achieved will be highlighted on the screen. Now, this isn't anything special. This is just a simple standalone mode. But as I have been going through in this video, talking about the momentum and the speed and the joy of speedrunning these bits, honestly, I think it's going to be the racing mode I'm going to come back to when I'm playing by myself, more than the normal campaign mode. So Titan Isles, as it stands, is a really enjoyable single-player game, but an absolutely fantastic co-op game for Meta Quest headsets. I would go as far to say, as this is one of the best VR experiences that I have had so far this year. So congratulations, Pystec Games, you've got another hit on your hand. We can't wait to see what you do next.